It's another go round of SOT. John, hear you there. Thanks for coming by, as you always do. This is the opportunity for us, for those of you that may not necessarily watch us 24/7, 365. First and foremost, what's holding you up? But other than that, outside of SDHAM, there's only a little bit of time, evening D Graham, during the day where we can cover things in the morning show. And so because of that, a long time ago in our history, we created soccer over there at SOC over there on the Twitters. And it's an opportunity for us to kind of take all of the stuff that we didn't get a chance to talk about that is overseas, have its own show, and then also in our second hour, reveal just how poor a selector of matches I am by doing picks of the week. And, once again, I set, I think, another record just in how horrible I was. I didn't lose all 8, although I did come close. And it was basically a minus 605 on the week for me. Like I said, I would be dead blanking last in the Discord, but lost 7 of 8. The one I did get was a plus 195. And I've got to add, let me do the tiebreaker just for the sake of tiebreakering here. So hang on. And traditionally what we do is in hour number 2, we do the picks of the week segment, and we have an opportunity to kind of learn about the world around us and some of the cool names and mascots and things like that. And we get to get into those discussions when we do picks of the week, and everybody in the Discord has their opportunity to have their own competitions. In our competition, I'm traditionally last. I'll win like once or twice out of the entire year and then try to figure out where I went wrong. And any strategy that I have tried to employ has been awful. And so it's just been traditionally a very, very bad run of form for someone that would finish 5th in a 4-team league. That's me. So, okay. All right. So tiebreaker. 3, 6, 8, 9, 12, 14, 18, 20, 23, 27. Okay, so it wasn't too bad. I was close, but it wasn't close enough. But anyway, so picks of the week in hour number 2. And we get into how well you guys are at picking matches, far better than I ever would. And so we'll do that in hour number 2. And we always try, thanks to the Soccer for Good OG, is to have something Uzbeki in our picks in there somewhere. And so our friends at SofaScore have basically just eschewed the idea of doing anything Uzbek. And so now we go to Odds Portal. They haven't done anything Uzbek. So we go to SofaScore to try and do something Uzbek every week, traditionally in either a Super Cup or the Premier Division or something like that. So that'll be the rundown for the show this week. Now, getting into things that we did not get into this morning. And it was a couple of different things. And I want to lead with this because it is an important piece of, and I can say history, but there's part of you that wants to say, well, yeah, it's about blank in time. And when FC Union Berlin, they had an awful run of form. And just to kind of give you an idea as to how awful it is, there's only a handful of matches left in the Bundesliga season. And there have been years past where Union Berlin has been chasing after European spots. This year is not that year. So after this past weekend, where once again they lose, and they are not in really a relegation fight per se. There are 5 matches left in the regular season. Everybody's through match week 29. Union Berlin is just hiccuping their way through this year. And they are 7 points clear of the relegation zone. And it is 7 points clear with 17 times 2, 35 matches to go. So, I mean, they should be okay. But after the run of form that they've had, losing 3-1 to Heidenheim, who is dead blanking last in the league, drawing St. Pauli, who right now is in the relegation playoff spot in 16th. And then obviously losing to Bayern 4-0. You're not alone in that. And then losing to Werder Bremen, who's below you in the standings, who's lost 3 of 4. Then things had kind of gotten to a tipping point, and it was just like, yeah, we got to do something here. So what they ended up doing, the decision was made by the front office to replace head coach Stefan Baumgart and his assistants Danilo de Souza and Kevin McKenna. And so the decision, obviously not made lightly. Decisive factor was essentially the team's performance in Heidenheim, which led us to make the decision that evening. Met with Stefan 11 o'clock that night, told him about it, explained why, then informed the team first thing that evening. It's always important that the team hears this directly from us and doesn't find out through the media. We mustn't downplay the situation we're in right now. Though the standings look good, and we're still far from the danger zone in terms of points, we have a tough game this weekend. A situation like this can change very quickly. That's why we don't want to risk ending up in an even more critical situation. And so the mood was also one of disappointment that we lost this game, especially in the way that we did. But at the same time, we're looking ahead, recognizing that we all share in the responsibility. And you can feel that. You could feel it right away on Sunday. The team is willing, that every single player is ready to move forward now. So that was the big takeaway from that. Obviously, kind words on Stefan Baumgart, the outgoing coach. And so Director of Football Horst Held had his press conference Monday morning to discuss all of this. And so the decision was made by FC Union Berlin to bring in a new, basically just a new presence on the touchline. Social media, obviously very, very thankful for what Stefan Baumgart brought to the table. But for the remainder of the season, the head coach at FC Union Berlin is going to be the previous coach of the U19's future head coach of the women's first team, Marie-Louise Eta. One of Union's strengths has always been and remains the ability to pull together in such situations, she said in the release. And, of course, I'm convinced that we will secure the crucial points with the team, end quote. And so with Eta's pedigree, professional footballer and such, she has been given the keys to the car for the remainder of the season to make sure that FC Union Berlin does not go into Bundesliga B. And so you had Serena Wiegmann discuss it, first woman to manage a men's team in any of Europe's top 5 leagues. That happens with Eta taking over FC Union Berlin. And then, unsurprisingly, you end up with folks on social media who want to say things and they think they're being cute and clever. And they're not even being cute and clever, and they're just going to slam fest and going to catering to least common denominators in their way of going about things. They think that social media platforms are there for them to put their screeds upon where they cannot be touched for any reason whatsoever because what they say is golden gospel. And what are you people doing in this case? So, and that's understandable that those kinds of things come into play because you have a lot of folks who are short-sighted for whatever reason and do not want to understand the context of a particular moment. So Marie-Louise Eta is named the interim coach for FC Union Berlin for the remainder of the season. Then, once again, literally evening local time, middle of the afternoon here on the East Coast, Horst Held sadly had to go on social media, or with the assistance of the social media team at FC Union Berlin, to have this following statement. Quote, I've noticed the sexist comments, but I refuse to give these voices a platform. For me, this is solely about leadership quality, and we are fully convinced that Louis is up to the task. I find it absurd that we still have to justify this in 2026. We're talking about a highly competent leader here. We at Union stand united behind this decision and will do everything in our power to ensure that this is no longer a topic of discussion in the future. All of this is simply embarrassing. That's what Horst Held said after the press conference, and then people decided that they were going to sit there and go, yeah, this Mary Louise Etta person, why is she the one who's getting hired? Why can't you bring in Pep Guardiola or whatever? And there's reasons for that, other than the fact that already employed and all that kind of stuff. Here is the pedigree. So let's take this aside for a second. And we're probably going to go ahead and make the Union Berlin match this weekend a part of Picks of the Week. So if I was to give you, here's the dossier of this particular individual. Age 34. Youth career, Dresden, Fortuna Dresden, Rodnitz, and FFC Turbine Potsdam. 30 goals in 177 matches in a senior career. Midfielder. First club was there for 3 years, 29 appearances, 4 goals. Second club, 22 appearances, 2 goals, basically a season. 2 years, 41 appearances, 5 goals. And then you come into your own. Literally at the age of 23, you come into your own. 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17. So 4 seasons. In 4 seasons at club number 4, where you ended up 23 years old. 23 years old, you end up at your last club professionally. 19 goals in 85 appearances. So you finish your career, 10-year career as a midfielder, 30 goals in 177 games. You played for your national team at the U15, 16, 17, 19, 20, and 23 level. And then after your time was done as a player, you decide, you know what? I think I'm going to be a coach. So you retire from active play at the age of 27. Then you coach through the youth ranks. Then you're in the system as you coach through the youth system on your national team, and then you're a secondary assistant. You're on the staff after your third national team, and you end up just as an assistant coach for that particular club. And now you're named a head coach for the remainder of the season. This is a caretaker manager position, but that's what you end up with over the final X number of matches of this season. So playing career until the age of 27, international career with the team that represents your nation, where you had 50 caps in your U career representing your country. And then after your senior career was over, you were asked to start being a manager for the national team, and you managed for 4 years. Then you turn into an assistant coach for one of the professional teams, first division in your country. If I was to just have those as stats, what would you think of that individual? You think that individual's probably earned their place, going through the going through all of the sections that you need to. Everything on the checklist gets checked off when it comes to what you want to do for your career and so on. So if you'd had this individual and then all of a sudden your favorite club sit there and it's like, you know what? I think it would behoove us. I think this would be a good pickup for us if we ended up getting that particular individual in here to be a caretaker manager for our club, because we know her pedigree, we know what she's capable of, we know that she's an assistant, that individual's an assistant. I slipped and I kind of broke the ending, but that individual is an assistant, a first-team assistant, yeah, we'll go ahead and give the first-team assistant a shot. In this case, we're talking about Marie-Louise Eta, 34, player, coach, national team coach, then first team on the bench, and now you are the caretaker manager for the remainder of the season in the Bundesliga. And then after this is over, you're going to take over and be the first ever head coach for the women's team. And so you see the progression here. You see where I'm getting at. That we have to continue. Sorry, the weekend's catching up with me. That we have to continue having these discussions. It's disappointing. I am Team Union Berlin here. I am Team Horst Held. That to bring in Marie-Louise Eta at this point, through all of your investigation, all of your thought patterns, all the things that you had going on in your head, you're like, yeah, we'll give this a shot. But of course, people being people, thinking that they're being clever with the posts on social media and such, you end up having the director of football having to defend the decision to his fan base. And probably to only a very small portion of the fan base, but traditionally, those fans are, in those situations, are very, very loud when it comes to their thoughts, even if those thoughts are of a minority opinion. But you have a piece of history. Top 5 leagues in Europe, you now have a women's manager. And it's coming in the form of Marie-Louise Eta. So that's kind of where we are with that. And like I said, we'll keep an eye on this. I anticipate that the numpties that are there, that sit there and they're wondering why this hire was made, blah, 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 blah. And, they're the ones that'll, probably be at the party and they'll say something, or they're at the, they're at their buddy's house and they're watching the game and they see something happen and they're the first one to say the comment that they shouldn't say for whatever reason. That's going to sadly continue during this run. But, and naturally, there probably will be a higher standard held to Coach Eta over this handful of matches as she gets ready to take over the first team women's team at Union Berlin. But what I would suggest is this. I would make a point to enjoy the selection. Enjoy the selection. So in the Bundesliga this weekend, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and write this down now because it is going to be one of the picks of the week. So 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 8. All right. So going into the schedule for this weekend, it will be Union Berlin hosting Wolfsburg, and that is 5 days from. So Saturday morning at 9:30. We'll keep this one on the board. So FC Union Berlin and Wolfsburg. It's going to be there on the list for picks of the week. Union Berlin, and I'm just going to go ahead and give you the numbers now. Union Berlin a plus 120 at home, draws a plus 250, and Wolfsburg is a plus 220. And I know where I'm going in this one. Shouldn't be that difficult. But one of the games this week is going to be Union Berlin and Wolfsburg. Guarantee it. It's already there. I've already written it down. I've already made my selection. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on at Union Berlin. Instant fan. And so you had you had that idea about, okay, where do we Where do we go from here? And you're going from here that we're going to have a qualified coach taking over for Union Berlin. Comments like, I'd rather lose 10-0 than to a woman. Those kinds of things. It won't be the only time that stuff like that's going to happen, but I think that it shows thinking by Union Berlin that they're looking at a qualified individual that's already in-house. And they want to see how it's going to be for those final 5 matches. So in the Bundesliga, once again, standings, 5 matches to go. Down at the bottom is where we are, but not really. I said 5 points from safety. That's where you are right now. But just losing to the teams that you lost to in the bottom of the table, literally losing to Werder Bremen, then a draw to St. Pauli, who's below you, and then losing to Heidenheim. So basically, 2 of the 3 teams currently in the relegation scrap, you lost to them. Like I said, you're 7 points clear with 5 matches to go. You should be okay, considering that there are teams that are not playing very well, period. So I'm intrigued to see how this goes. I'm intrigued to see how the fan base will respond. Is on Saturday, meaning the idea of, okay, we are, we're off and running in this for the run in for us, and so we'll see what it looks like. So that's, I guess, kind of an opening kickoff-y kind of thing. And so we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll keep an eye on now both the Uzbek Premier League and on FC Union Berlin. So we'll go from there, and we'll keep an eye on that one as we go forward. Now, I had a list of things that I wanted to get into here on SOT tonight. And we'll start in England, and obviously today you have a clunker of a result, and that screaming that you heard was our buddy Drew Dickinson, and this was not an anticipated result by any stretch of the imagination. And when you don't have folks in the lineup, and Leeds gets a key victory, boy, did they need this one badly. Leeds gets the win. And so with that, they continue to spread their distance between themselves and any kind of a relegation scrap. With the win, they are now 6 points clear of relegation. They're unbeaten in their last 3. But so you end up with Leeds with the win today, 36 points, 6 points clear with 6 matches to go. And yes, if you have a good week, you can rocket your way up. And if you have a horrible week, you can rocket your way down. But right now, once again, after match week 32, and this is that chase group. This is the relegation group, because the chase group is chasing after Europe. You have 1 and 2. You've got 3 through 7, and then you have the chaos, basically. Well, you've got technically 3, 4, and 5. They're kind of hanging out with each other. And so then you have the second large chase group, starting at 6 with Chelsea at 48 points. You've lost 4 of 5. Any kind of shine that was picked up by the Liam Rosenior hiring, I think, is pretty much gone by now. So 48 points for 6th, down to 14 points, 14th place and 42 points. Literally 9 teams, 6 points to get into the Europa League spot. This doesn't mention anything about Europa Conference, mind you. This is straight up Europa League, knowing that there's probably going to be some elements of math to figure out, okay, is it going to be one more spot for England because of power rankings and things like that? So you have all of these teams in all of this space. 9 teams, 6 points, 6 matches to go to get into Europe and figure out where. 3, 4, and 5, they kind of have a mind of their own. 1 and 2, Arsenal and Manchester City. Manchester City took care of business. Arsenal did not. And so now Arsenal with the 2-1 loss to Bournemouth at a plus 600, by the way. They are kind of staring over their shoulder. 6 points clear. Manchester City a match in hand. So Manchester City takes care of business next time out. And then they win on that following week, which they should. Then right now you're staring at probably in the next 7 days Manchester City leading the Premier League after everything that they've gone through this season. All the injuries, all the lineups, all the schedule compression, all the things. Arsenal has decided to reel themselves back. They're the ones that cast the line into the lake and it's on a tire and they don't know it. And so they're continuing to try to pull and pull and pull. And at some point, if this keeps up, they're going to either understand that tire is going to come up and hit them square in the face, or you're going to snap the line yourself and trying to ring in the tire that you can't see, and you're going to end up going over the edge of the dock into the water. That's where things are right now with Arsenal and Manchester City. The week that was, once again, leads with the win, 2-0 today. No Maguire in the lineup. Manchester City shuts out Chelsea 3-0. Forest and Villa, big point for Nottingham Forest. 1-1 draw at City Ground. Happy to be here. FC got the win at home against Newcastle, 2-1. Sunderland over Spurs, 1-0, and now everybody really is staring at Spurs on the whole, not just whoever the individual is on the touchline. We'll get into that in a second. Liverpool shuts out Fulham 2-0. Brentford, Everton, a 2-2 draw. Brighton wins at Turf Moor, 2-0. Bournemouth over Arsenal, 2-1. West Ham shut out Wolves to start the weekend by the final of 4-0. So all of those things happening on the weekend. And the three groups that are there for the Premier League now, you've got that to stare at. Okafor has a double. Martinez gets a red for a hair pull. So literally you can get a hair pull in the Premier League, but you can't in other European leagues for some reason. Sonia Bonpastor holding up her phone with a still of the hair pull, but we're okay. First home loss for Michael Carrick, by the way. So Michael Carrick says it's not aggressive. There is no jolt. But I hate to break it to Lisandro Martinez and to Michael Carrick. A hair pull is a hair pull. I don't have much of it left, but if I did and I grew it long, as you were pulling Dominic Calvert-Lewin's hair, Michael Carrick said it was shocking. Manchester United may appeal as Martinez is facing a 3-match ban. There's a still from Phil Noble at Reuters that is out there. And it literally is Lisandro Martinez trying to, I think he's literally trying to stop Dominic Calvert-Lewin's momentum. And he has pulled his right leg up into the air at a 90-degree angle to his left to go perpendicular to his body to act, I guess, as an air brake. So literally right leg in the air, left leg down, bracing the individual. So Lisandro Martinez, right leg in the air, left leg perpendicular. He has his left hand literally wrapped around the hair at the back of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, I don't know how you would think that red card for pulling hair is shocking, considering it is. And it is pulling of hair. He didn't mean to. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Look at the Phil Noble photo from Reuters. I can't show it because obviously it would get us in trouble. But literally, it is a hair pull. You see Lisandro Martinez going like this. Phil Noble has the money shot. It's on the Guardian website if you can find it. Literally, Lisandro Martinez is pulling his hair back. His meaning Dominic Calvert-Lewin's, not his own, because if he was doing that, he'd be doing this. literally pulling his hair back. A shocking red card by Lisandro Martinez, according to Michael Carrick. And they're thinking of appealing this thing. Then you go right ahead, sir. You absolutely go right ahead. I don't think you're going to win that appeal. Harry Maguire might be suspended for a second match. Lisandro Martinez sent off after 56. Paul Tierney reviewed it and said it was a red card offense. Carrick said the arm is in the face of Lisandro and he's off balance and is grappling. He goes to touch his shirt and gets a red card for it. It's not aggressive. There is no jolt, no tug. Phil Noble at Reuters photograph would tell you differently. We've got to be careful where the game is going. It's a shocking decision, absolutely shocking. The red card, that is really concerning. I know he touched his hair. Yeah, he grabbed it. There's a difference to really aggressively touching it. What, like flat hand as opposed to pulling the ponytail at the back? I would suggest to Michael Carrick perhaps to go look at that photo. It's a pull. It is not aggressively touching his hair. It's not, "Ooh, what's your shampoo? I'm feeling it through my fingers and your conditioner. Do you condition every day or once a week?" That's not the conversation that was being had. Lisandro Martinez is pulling his hair. He's pulling his hair. It's not aggressive. There is no jolt, no tug. Want to bet? I would ask Michael Carrick to go and look at that photograph. I really would. I don't know, again, but now that you've gone down this road, I don't think that you can literally change your mind about the whole thing. Golden Flare 26, good evening. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Can't wait for the Atleti game. Alpa Atleti. Yes, we'll get into Champions League 2 coming up here in a bit. Champions League, La Liga, all the things. So it's not aggressive. No jolt, no tug. I would suggest, tell you what I'm going to do. Here's the link. And they're gonna ask you to contribute to their cause because they're doing their thing. And they're doing it very well. So here's the link to the article. I'm just going to show it here, but go to the Guardian. I mean, you can go to the Guardian in their football section, and it's in the Manchester United piece. And literally the response of Michael Carrick. Look at that photo, go to that article, look at that photograph, and then come back here and tell me if that is aggressively touching his hair. There's a difference to really aggressively touching it. Yeah, I would agree. But what Lisandro Martinez did is not aggressively touching. It is a hair pull. It is a yank. I'd love to know how much of Dominic Calvert-Lewin's hair was left on the turf. I really would. 2-0 win for Leeds at Old Trafford. Carrick said if he's asked if he's going to appeal, I'm going to have to discuss it, but I think it's a bad decision. The interim manager went to Noah Okafor's opener, claiming that Calvert-Lewin had impeded Lenny Yoro in the buildup. The goal, Lenny Yoro gets a forearm smash in the back of the head. I don't know how that doesn't get overturned. That first goal shouldn't stand. First one, he led with his arm. I don't know how you don't look at it. And so Maguire was out because he got the red card in the Bournemouth match back on the 20th for a dog so red. And so now United's going to find out before their Chelsea trip if Harry Maguire is found guilty. Martinez also set to miss United's matches against Brentford and Liverpool. Leeds victories, the first one at Old Trafford in 45 years. So, okay, so let's go down this road here for a second. So if we go and look at these highlights, so what we're looking for is the network that is broadcasting these matchups and taking a peek at what they saw. So you have another movie with the World Cup final and Mark Wahlberg. Okay. I'm guessing that was done fairly soon. Okay, so I'm in the highlights. Obviously, I can't run any audio or anything like that. So if this 5th-minute opener by Noah Okafor, Calvert-Lewin impeded Lenny Yoro, forearm smash to the back of the head. So let's see where Michael Carrick is in his views and viewpoints. All right, so 2nd minute chance. Okay, so all right, Leeds is in possession, center circle. Let's check and see if there was a forearm smash to the back of the head. Elbow was up. I will grant you that. So Noah Okafor with the goal. Now let's see in the replay after they hug and hug it out and everything. Like I said, I'm not going to show the highlights so I don't get us into any kind of trouble. So, all right, it is. All right, so I understand. All right, so I'm slowing this down here. I understand where he's coming from. All right, so all right, so the cross comes in up and over. I mean, you could call it, but I think it would be soft because as you see, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I mean, you're not going to jump with your arms close to your body to try and gain advantage in height. So Calvert-Lewin's arms are expanded as he's trying to jump for the ball, and his gravity moves him in toward Yoro. And as he's trying to continue to gain distance, he does work the arm forward, and it does make contact with Lenny Yoro as a part of this. I think if you call it, it's soft because of momentum and everything that's attached to it. I can understand if you did call it, but I still think it's soft. So I get it. I get where Michael Carrick is coming from. You could call it, but, so it doesn't get called, and then everything is 1-0 from there, and you're having to battle uphill. So other news in the Premier League. Huti Romero feared to be out for the remainder of the season with knee ligament damage, and he is thought to have MCL damage. Might be able to recover in time for the World Cup. John Bruin at The Guardian mentions that the captain is out for the remainder of the season. 70 minutes gone. Came together with Brian Bobby, and then he goes into his own keeper in Antonin Kinski, and they're thinking that it would take about 8 weeks to heal. There is the initial thought that Romero was going to miss the World Cup, not looking that way yet. Scans were not as bad as first feared, although the Spurs have not won a domestic match in 2026. They've lost 16 times in league this year. So you haven't had Madison and Kulusevski all season. Odebear and Hudus have joined as long-term absentees. Kinski removed, once again, remember, after the Atleti match, was playing because Vicario was recovering from a hernia operation. And, of course, people being people, Brian Brobby was targeted for racist abuse on social media for his part in a collision. Sunderland came out with a statement unwaveringly supporting their player. This seems to be the default. Something happens, you say something really dumb on social media about it. So that's the up and down so far from the Premier League. But the biggest thing, once again, keep an eye out on Spurs. Spurs. I don't think I can say it too many times. Literally, they're now in the relegation zone. They are now in the relegation zone. And by the way, the Telegraph is also running the photo of the hair pull. Yes. Now, with Romero out for the year, it makes you wonder what Spurs are going to have to do when it comes to piecing something together in that regard. Now, you look at a lot of the printed word having to do with Spurs, and there seem to be a lot of writers that are just staring at relegation now for Spurs. Destined to do it. This is what's happening. Fears are deepening, all this kind of stuff. I understand that that's also the nature of the writer over there most of the time. But yeah, optimism does not equate with a Spurs conversation. Really does not. So keep an eye on the Premier League once again. Tomorrow, you've got Champions League. You've got the Champions League to keep an eye on, and obviously you get to figure that out. Champions League, Conference League, Europa League. Tomorrow, once again, it's the start of the reverse fixtures. Atleti is a home dog to Barcelona at a plus 290. Barca is a minus 118. Draws a plus 340. This is just for the match tomorrow, not for the two legs. Then at 3 o'clock, Liverpool and PSG. Liverpool slightly favored on the road and at home. PSG's a plus 160. Liverpool's a plus 140. And your draw's a plus 320. Then on Wednesday, Arsenal and Sporting. Sporting is a big underdog heading to the Emirates. Sporting a plus 600. Draws a plus 350. Arsenal's a minus 200. Bayern favored against Real Madrid at a minus 175. Real Madrid's a plus 375, and the draw is a plus 430. That building is going to be a hoot. And I say that in the most optimistic way humanly possible. Absolutely say that in the most optimistic way possible. That environment, they are going to truly, that is going to be a great environment for the matchups on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then the Bayern environment for the second leg of that Champions League quarter. That's going to be another fun part here as well. Really looking forward to that. So matches in the Champions League, once again, we'll go over the margins too. First leg for Atleti was a 2-0 win over Barca. PSG had a 2-0 win over Liverpool. Arsenal only knocked off Sporting 1-0. Took them a while to do it. And then Bayern had a 2-0 lead, scoring twice early in the second half over Real Madrid. So that's where you are heading into these second legs. Atleti up 2, PSG up 2, Arsenal up a goal, Bayern Munich up 2-1. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday and Wednesday to let you know what's going on with that. So that is your UEFA rundown. 4 matches closer to the round of the semis. Four more matches, and we're down to the final 4. Really looking forward to that as that pops up as well. Taking the tour of England. Don't know if you heard about this. John Terry's part of an ownership group. For the longest time, Terry wanted to be a manager. Now he's part of an ownership group that's going to be a part of the takeover with Colchester United in League 2. £14 million on the takeover. And so Terry and a consortium are going to take over Colchester. And I believe, if my memory is correct, that they are fairly safe in League 2 and competitions, League 2. So Colchester, I believe they're mid-table. Yeah, they're mid-table. They're 13th, and they're 27 points clear. So owner's been looking to sell for more than 6 months, and so it looks like you might have a buyer. Colchester's got a match in hand. Our friends in Walsall are middle of the table as well. They're in 12th after a hot start. And it looks like Bromley and the team that I can't mention by name, maybe Cambridge United, but once again, you've got 5 teams separated by 5 points, 2 through 6 right now in League 2. So that is the look. But Colchester United, yeah. John Terry, part of an ownership group. And we also mentioned that West Brom, John Percy at the Telegraph. West Brom have been charged with an alleged breach of financial rules. This came out this morning. Allegedly breached EFL's PSR, profit and sustainability rules, for last season, facing the threat of a points deduction. And because it was last year, The points deduction would happen in the subsequent year, which is this one, currently going on. And that would create a bit of a problem for West Brom as they're trying to stay afloat in the championship right now. Championship club is trying to get punishment delayed until next year. 20th in the table, 7 matches unbeaten under caretaker manager James Morrison, 2 points above Oxford United, who have the final relegation spot. Leicester were deducted 6 points in February for breaching financial rules, failing in an appeal last week. So right now, here's how it looks. It is 3 teams that go down. One of them is Sheffield Wednesday. They've only won once in 42. Leicester's at 41 points right now. Oxford United's at 44. Now the fun part. Charlton Athletic is at 49 points. Blackburn's at 48. West Brom is unbeaten in 5 to get to 46 points. Portsmouth has lost 2 in a row. They're at 45. So Oxford at 44, Leicester at 41, and Sheffield Wednesday. Those are the 3 right now. If the season ended today, Charlton, Blackburn, West Brom, and Portsmouth would be happy, but the points deduction that is anticipated for West Brom is going to happen for this year. Anything larger than 2 points, really 2 points would do it, because then they would be behind Oxford on goal difference. But if you're looking 6 points, then they would be next to last. Leicester would move up. Oxford would move up and out. And so it would be 41, 40, and -4. Exact amount of West Brom's breach is not thought to be significant and only a minor number above loss limits, but a points deduction, transfer ban, or fine, or all 3 for potential punishments. Football league clubs have to submit their annual accounts for the previous financial year by the end of the calendar year, December 31st. In March, West Brom reported an operating loss of £17 million, which was down from 31. Overall losses since July of 22 are 55.6, which exceeds the permitted amount of a maximum £39 million over a 3-year reporting period. That is not a definitive PSR figure, according to the Telegraph. Spending is permitted on add-backs, expenditures toward women's football, community development, and the academy. Those are exempt from calculations. But the Club Financial Reporting Unit, so if you see an acronym that says CFRU, that's what this is. The Club Financial Reporting Unit assessed the accounts for compliance. West Brom were informed of an alleged breach. And so they now have 2 weeks to either say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't, and here's our proof. West Brom basically put out a statement that was like 4 or 5 sentences. Yeah, we know what we're being accused of. We are not. See, now I'm trying to say we're basically. I'm paraphrasing, but West Brom is saying they've complied with everything involving PSR. They're going to cooperate with the Financial Reporting Unit. They thank the fans for all of their concern. Basically, everybody's hair's on fire on social media. And then they said, well, and we're not going to comment any further. It would not be appropriate for the club to comment further at this stage. So, relegated from the Premier League in 21, West Brom is owned by Florida-based businessman Shilan Patel and his company Bilkul Football WBA. Parachute payments have expired. Patel has had no option but to invest huge amounts of money to reduce losses inherited from the former owner, Lagwal Shan. They have to pay back a £25.7 million loan to MSD Holdings for the end of the year. End of this year. MSD Holdings, just to give you an idea, MSD Holdings is not the construction company that I just clicked on their website. But MSD Holdings is Michael Dell. And Michael Dell, this is not the first time that he has done this. He has helped out Burnley in the past and given them astronomical interest rates for the capital investment that he did at the time. And then if he did not get his return, then he was going to get a piece of turf more, basically. And this was when Burnley took over, AOK Capital took over, and basically used the club's own money, something akin to a leveraged buyout like Manchester United. AOK Capital's takeover, according to David Kahn at the time, left the club £90 million worse off and loaded with debt. £170 million U.S. takeover. Alan Pace, ALK Capital. David Kahn at the time said that Pace had not explained the deal to buy the club from their long-term owners, and it was about 78%. When he was asked about it at the time, Pace declined to confirm how the pounds that were paid to the outgoing shareholders had been financed. AOK maintains that the plans are sustainable, didn't intend to invest new money in the club. But David Kahn and The Guardian caught up with some folks who commented without identifying themselves for confidentiality purposes. The initial payments financed with a loan from MSD, Michael Dell, and his UK holdings, £60 million. And the loan was charged like a mortgage on Turf Moor, according to David Kahn and the club itself, which will have to repay from its own revenues at the time, 5 years ago, at an interest rate that AOK did not make public. Club's own cash reserves had been used to pay selling shareholders was accurate. Sources with knowledge of the deal at the time put that figure between 30 and 40 million pounds. Club's cash had been built up in the Premier League. You knew that Burnley was going to go about things a certain way when it came to roster assembly and Turf Moor and all of that. And Joe Drape, if you missed it, as a part of all of this, Joe Drape did a great piece on Turf Moor and on Burnley and how Turf Moor at the way back beginning of this, even before MSD and ALK were anywhere close to being INVOLVED'd. So I think it was NBC Sports World that Joe Drape had a great piece posted there about how things were off in such a bad way. Then you now have this buyout 5 years ago, buying 77% of the club from the two majority shareholders, but using the club's own cash reserves to pay the selling shareholders to do it. Then that forces them to go to MSD Michael Dell and get a loan. And the interest rate, I'm sure, was fairly huge. And so now you go from that to where you currently are with Burnley, and you're in a you are in a fight, but you're probably going back down to the championship. But MSD, Michael Dell Holdings, MSD Holdings, whether it's MSD Holdings US or MSD Holdings UK, has a history of pairing up with franchises in the Premier League and helping them out at massive interest rates. Bloomberg had reported 5 years ago, and this is where ALK and Michael Dell kind of worked their way together here. Just to pay for ALK to take over, the club is now approximately £90 million worse off with interest, and this was 5 years ago. No borrowings at all, £42 million in the bank. Deals understood to have valued Burnley at more than £200 million. AOK did not confirm how much of their own capital it paid for the first installment. Bloomberg reported the first payment to the two majority owners and their fellow sellers was £102 million. If 3 further installments are not paid, there's a mechanism by which AOK shares in the club go back to the shareholders. Dell's MSD has lent money, and like I said, this is 5 years ago. Dell lent money to Southampton and Derby County also secured by charges, but the loans were not taken out to finance takeovers. Southampton had published the accounts back in 1920 that their loan was just under $79 million, annual interest rate of 9.14. Interest on the ordinary bank loan is just at 1%. Pace had declined to say whether Burnley's MSD loan had a similar 9% interest rate, which would cost the club £5.5 million in interest a year 5 years ago. Loan was taken out, takeover concluded, interest rate likely to be disclosed in 20 and 21. So what you had is 5 years ago, folks that wanted to buy Burnley, wanted to leverage the club's own cash reserves and accounts against it to pay off the old shareholders. Then you get a loan from MSD, Michael Dell, at 9%, costing you $5.5 million a year at the time. Southampton, Derby, Burnley, and now West Brom. It looks that way. So that's what you're staring at with West Brom. MSD was like, yeah, sure, here's $25.7 million. You got to pay that back by the end of the year. Total borrowings were twice that in the most recent accounts. So MSD is finding their spots to pair up with the Premier League and the Championship and trying to figure out, okay, who needs help and what's it worth to you? Seems to be just a sweet spot in the operating ideas for MSD Holdings, chasing after those kinds of clubs. But, yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener to see what Burnley was up to at the time 5 years ago and seeing where things were going to go from there. But, yeah, Champions League tomorrow and Champions League on Wednesday. Europa League. Let me see where the Europa and the Europa Conference, where are they? They are Thursday. All 4 on Thursday in the Europa, all 4 on Thursday in Europa Conference. And so that means that Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa are playing on Thursday. And it also means that I believe Happy to Be Here FC is playing on Thursday also. Yes, they're at Fiorentina, but they have a large advantage going in, and they are an underdog in the match, but not necessarily in the rounds of fixtures. Since we are on the financial roll right now, our buddy Ben Jacobs had pieced together the information on Chelsea because we'd mentioned Chelsea's finances. We mentioned Chelsea's finances last week, and they're coming out in more and more dribs and drabs. And the way that it looks, so headline numbers from Chelsea FC Holdings. And remember, we talked about they have over 20 holding companies attached to Bowley Clear Lake. Blueco and Holdco's full accounts along with Chelsea FC Holdings. CFC Holdings declared a pre-tax loss of £262.4 million compared to a profit of $128.4 from the prior year. The shift was primarily due to the profit on the sale of the hotel that we talked about. And that was at £198.7 million. That was recognized in the prior year. Revenue increased $22 million year to year. Sales and administrative rose by $117 million, noted as a mitigating factor for the scale of the loss, primarily attributed to increased amortization and impairment on player registrations, increased cost of sales, including player wages, cost related to regulatory matters, meaning lawyers, and the £26.5 million settlement with UEFA. Wage bill is up $18.2 million to north of £312 million. Intangible assets up £100 million due to player acquisitions, offset by amortization and impairment losses of $230 and the disposal of player registrations with a combined net book value of $67.9. Man, this is a lot of math. CFC Holdings made a net profit, but that was down 2/3. So the sales are attached to CFC Holdings. Let's see. So revenue increase, wage bill is up, intangible assets down, meaning player value and things like that. Chelsea's 6 men's football players signed at an initial cost, 15 sold. So you sign 6 at 263, you sell 15 at 31.8. That doesn't match. That is a loss in transfers of 231.5. Impairment losses. Blue Co., their net loss, $619 million compared to $402. Declared pre-tax loss number is $630.1 compared to $430.3, and is noted as driven by investment in the women's team, in Chelsea, and in Strasbourg. Revenue the year before for Blue Co. was $536.5. Also confirmed that Alexis Ohanian paid £18.5 million for a 7.6% stake in Chelsea's women, split via 2 share purchases. Chelsea's women's team is valued by the 776 Chaos Fund of Alexis Ohanian at £243.4 million. Women declared a loss the year before, twice what it was the previous. Turnover increased by $10 million. Offset by a $18.5 million increase in operating cost. Strasbourg declared a loss. Turnover was decreased. Holdco pre-tax loss, £700 million, up from $473 and adjusted to $689.7 post-tax. £18 million pounds in a settlement agreement with UEFA under FSR, which concluded the final year. That's just basically you have several holding companies. They've created a large loss. They have been bringing in more players and spending a lot more than they have when they sell them. The sell-ons are far less. Makes you wonder where the sustainability comes from in all of everything Chelsea. Oh, that's a lot of math. And speaking of where Alexis Ohanian had paid his $18.5 million for the 7.6% stake in Chelsea women, along those lines, I thought this was interesting too, where it was thought in interviews that the WSL is viewed in some circles as an afterthought. Matt Hughes caught up with Kara Nortman, who was talking about Monarch Collective sports ownership portfolio and potential investment in England. Kara Nortman, the co-founder of Monarch Collective and Angel City. Monarch became the first women's multi-sport group by buying a minority stake in the Cleveland franchise in the WNBA, which is now NWSL San Diego, Boston, WNBA Cleveland, and Victoria Berlin. Nortman created Monarch in 23 after launching Angel City with Natalie Portman and Julie Yerman. Didn't want to comment on the status of Monarch's discussions with West Ham over buying a stake in their women's team, revealed by The Guardian last year, but she did say finding the right partner had proved challenging. Chelsea, Villa, Everton have sold stakes in their women's teams. Bay Collective became the majority owner of Sunderland's women's team in WSL 2. Monarch completed a $250 million funding round. They say they have the resources to join if they find the right club. Nortman said that what's changing is that people call us up all the time asking for advice to share expertise, and we're happy to collaborate. Spent amount of time with different ownership groups at Palace, for example. I've been in the supporters section where somebody asked me if I was a wag. It's like the best day of my life as I just turned 50. I had to say no, but thank you anyway. Monarch paid about $1 million for Angel City to join the NWSL in 2020. 4 years later, sold to Bob Iger and his wife Willow Bay for $250 million, making it the most valuable women's franchise in the world. First round of capital, just shy of $1 million. Start of COVID, no one wanted to get back into stadia, things like that. Catherine Kerner used to work with Manchester City and CFG, is in charge of their London office. They're looking at cricket and rugby now. So NWSL, WNBA, and now they're looking to have ownership overseas. So keep an eye on Bay Collective. Keep an eye on what Nortman is up to. The one thing that you don't need to keep an eye on, frankly, is me. Because when it comes to picks of the week, I'm awful. We're going to do them anyway right now. Maybe if I hit the right button. I was trying to swap to this screen and not the open of the actual show. So here's what happened last week. John was awful. John was just downright damn hideous. There's no other way to describe it. No other way to describe it. Awful, awful, awful. That is the only way to describe it. And so it will be intriguing to see the very least, to see how poor it will be. I was 1-7 last week. 1-7. 1-7. Seriously, I was 1-7. I was almost 0 for 8. I was almost 0 for 8. I almost was. But I wasn't. I was 1-7. Last week, we went Wrexham and Southampton to start. And Wrexham, I picked as a draw with Wrexham and Southampton. I'm like, yeah, okay, they're both fighting for it. I figure Wrexham would be in direct competition. No. 5-1 blowout. Didn't happen. Nashville and Club America, round number 1. I thought that Club America would nick a goal somewhere in there, someplace at Geodis. They didn't. Draw. The South African Premiership was the only place where I won last week. 2-1 win for Polokwane against TS Galaxy. Always root against and always pick against a team that is named after their owner, or the team that the owner decides to name after himself. Then, in the Uzbek Super League, Neftchi and Paktakor in a battle of 1 versus 2. Paktakor won that one 1-0. I said it was going to be a draw. So at that point, I am I'm at like minus 105, I think. So 195 on 300, so minus 105, yeah. So then the fifth one, we went to Latvia for the first time. And in the Veersliga, I picked Grobina over Supernova and lost. They were a home favorite. They lost. Then the Hungarian First Division. Was it Niera Gyaza and Pax toward the top of the table? Pax was a road favorite. They lost. Major League Soccer, Austin FC and LAG. I figured Austin would win at home. They lost. Then in Chile, it was Ñublense and Universidad de Chile. And so it was a 1-0 win for Ñublense when I picked a draw. So I literally lost 7 games and won the one at a plus 195. So that was what? So minus 7. So minus 700 plus 195. And that's that is minus 505 on the week. So that was horrendous. And by the way, the total number of goals in the Premier League last week was 27. I picked 33, and it was 27. So that one is going right in the garbage. That one's going right in the garbage, as it should. So now we're going to figure out what we're going to do this week for picks of the week. But we've already decided, one, we're going to have the Union Berlin-Wolfsburg match from Saturday at 9:30 in the morning. and give you time to think about it. Probably going to be like match number 6 or something. So Union Berlin is a plus 120, draws a plus 250, Wolfsburg is a plus 220. I've already made my pick. When we get there, we'll pick it again. So now, probably what we're going to do on some level is we're going to have some of the discussion involving CONCACAF Champions League. That one's going to be an easy one. And so that'll be in there as well. So now we've just got to figure out, all right, so what other stuff is out there that we want to pick that we haven't had before? And that's the biggest thing. Is you want to try to find places where you've been before, and you want to try and think about, okay, what about this place? Or what about this place? Or what about here? What about here? What about here? What about here? So, we're looking at, like I said, we're looking at countries, we've never been in. And obviously there will be some places that we've been in because the matches are just as important. So as I'm sitting here and I'm trying to scan the early sections of the alphabet. So hang on. So if today is the 13th, then that means, so if today's the 13th, so Monday's the 13th, so Tuesday's the 14th, Wednesday's the 15th, 16th is Thursday, 17th is Friday, 18th is Saturday, 19th is Sunday. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here. All right. So all right, so okay. All right. So all right. So now I'm going back and forth with KCD right now. Okay. Let's see. All right. So round of 32 in Open Cup. We've also got that to talk about next couple of days. Let's see. So let's see. So I'm asking KCD. By the way, I know this is great TV and radio. She's got Open Cup, so she cannot be with us in the morning. All right. So and with whom in the booth, so I can be smart about it. Okay. So all right. So Casey's doing Open Cup, so she's got coach's calls. All right, so it'll be just the two of us tomorrow. So, all right, Super League. Saturday morning or Friday morning. Let's see if we can pick one Friday morning that's worth something. Or Saturday. Okay. All right, so I got that one. So we can go China Friday at 7 a.m. So we'll do that one there. Like I said, I'm scouting as we go. And I'm scouting as we go. So if I find a country and I'm like, okay, so let's go here. And so we'll hang on to that one. So we haven't been here in a while, but they would need to have matches. Oh, let's see. What about here? Let's see. Do we have? All right. So yeah, we could do that one. We could go there. Okay. So we'll go there for that one. And we'll do the Chance Liga. That's interesting. Okay. So all right. So I've got three, and I know that one of them we got to do Uzbekistan. And so we will look at Uzbekistan and we will get smart with them. And let's see. All right. So what about here? I don't think we've done anything here recently, but of course we would need to have matches for that to go down. Oh, do we have anything here? like I said, I'm trying to find countries that we haven't been in and go, or at least haven't been in a while, so we could have those kinds of discussions. And well, we could go there. So yeah, we could go here for that one. And we might even be able to watch it. So we might even be able to watch that one. All right. So Wednesday, 8 p.m. And it's some friends that we're used to seeing in CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I'm gradually working this through, trying to find, once again, like I said, I'm trying to find nations that we haven't been in, but I'm leaving a spot open for our friends in Uzbekistan because we have kind of somewhat adopted them as the Uzbeks, and we are. Can we go there? Actually, yeah, we could. So I think we might go there. This is coming together a lot faster than I thought it would because of all the letters of the alphabet. All right, so that's all right. So we're getting closer. Let me actually, so now that we're here, let me see. Now this is annoying. And I don't know if you guys have the same issues that I do. Probably not, because you probably can like run computers a lot better than I can. So when I'm trying to go to the Uzbekistan Super League, just as an idea, the Uzbekistan Super League, which is kind of where we've anchored our boat when it comes to what we're staring at. In what do we want to do? We want to do what's today? 14, 13, 14. So let's go next round. Let's see. Do we have? Okay. So 16, 17, and I don't want to do that one yet. So Friday the 17th. Okay, maybe that's a contender. And are you serious that they got to play back-to-back days? Yeesh. I'm literally staring at an opportunity for the Super League for a team to play on back-to-back days. At least it's listed that way. I don't quite think that's accurate, but anything is possible. Okay, so let's do that one on Friday at 11:15 in the morning. So the Uzbek Super League is online again, and we will learn about these leagues and these teams. We will know everything about the Uzbek Super League backward, forwards, and upside down by the time they come to this part of the planet. So we got that one, and I will punch that one up. Ooh, that's actually a pretty good one. All right, and then we go all the way down to our ever popular United States. You're not giving me that one, are you? Okay. You're not going to give me that one. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I would just like just a wild card, just to give me something here. Okay. So, we don't have anything Tuesday, even though we probably should. Actually, tell you what, yeah, I'm gonna call an audible, and we'll go Open Cup to lead off, and we'll go there. I got one more. It'll be the first game in Open Cup, so you'll have Lou City and Austin FC to think about, and then let's see. Oh, we're gonna do well, but then we're on Saturday, so let's. Oh man, because there's a great one in the National League that I want to get to eventually. Jeff Stelling had a great rant about the National League and how things really do need to change in the National League. And they've got to get their heads screwed on straight because you could have two teams north of 100 points in the National League and only one of them gets promoted. So Jeff Stelling really was talking about how things need to change. Things need to change. So we go in there. Nothing's listed in that league yet. Actually, wait a second. Do we have? See, now one triggers another, but they're not up and running yet. So that's disappointing. Okay. So, we have the matchups, but we don't have the numbers. So they have the matchups and they have the results, but they don't have the numbers posted in the Uzbek Super League yet from our friends at Odds Portal. What about here? Because this one, because the split starts not this week, but next. So we can't quite get into the split yet in Scotland. So when the split happens in Scotland, we're definitely going to be talking about that. Definitely going to be talking about that. The 18th is Saturday. Okay, we can do that. All right, so I think we got it. So I just have to figure out a 10A Saturday. It is that one. All right, so we've got our 8. And now I need a tiebreaker. So, okay, yeah. So let's do. All right, so since we got that match picked up on Tuesday, so here we go. All right, and I know that was incredibly riveting, like 10 minutes of fact finding. So here we go. Now, it is an idea for the tiebreaker, and I think we can get this squared away nicely with the schedule being set. So, all right, 3, 6, however many games. Okay, here we go. All right, we got picks of the week figured out finally. John figured it out. All right, we're going to start in Cyprus. We're starting in Cyprus in the Cyprus League. And in the Cyprus League, here's how it runs. So 4-card, C-Core won the Twitch pitch. Ricky takes over top spot in the overall table. Man, okay. All right. So here we go. It is in the Cyprus League. I always want to call it the Cypriot League. Tomorrow afternoon at noon Eastern Time. It is AEK Larnaca and Omonia Cyprus. Numbers. Larnaca and Omonia are both at a plus 154. Draws a plus 190. Standings right now in the Cyprus League. I don't want the relegation group, unless this is in the relegation group. Larnaca and Omonia Nicosia. I don't think that this is, they're both in the championship group, I think. Yes. Okay, so it is literally 1 versus 2 in the promotion group, the championship group. And it is Omonia on the road. They have the top spot in the championship group at 65 points. They're 8 points clear of AEK Larnaca. And Omonia has the most prolific offense in the league. They have the best defense. Scored 67 goals in 28 matches. Goal difference of 48. Basically a goal and a half a match. They only give up 19 goals in 28 matches to this point this year. And Larnaca on match day last matched Apollon to preserve 2 and 3. So Omonia Nicosia or Omonia Cyprus is at number 1, 65 points, 8 points clear of AEK Larnaca going into the championship group, and they do the dreaded split. So folks got work to do in trying to square off and try to catch Omonia if you are Larnaca or Apollon, or if Aris wants to try and improve their lot. Both sides a plus 154, and the draw is a plus 190. And I am going to and AK Larnaca's defense slightly worse, but I mean they give up 23 goals as opposed to 19, but their offense is what the challenge was. 16 less goals in 28 matches to Omonia, 67 to 51. So I'm going to go draw here because I don't think Omania's defense is going to keep Larnaca from scoring, and I think it's going to be the same for Larnaca and Omania. I think that Omania, traditionally, if this was at home, I would have picked Omania to win over AEK Larnaca, but I think because this one's on the road, I'm going to go draw. So then, also on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Open Cup. First matchup in Open Cup, and it's Lou City hosting Austin FC. In this one, as I hit the wrong button, and this one is a lot tighter than I had initially anticipated that it would be. Lou City is a slight underdog at home, and I mean slight underdog. Lou City's a plus 145, draws a plus 240, and Austin FC is a plus 140. I could see Lou City taking this one because of Austin FC losing to LAG on the weekend and then having to turn around and in their schedule on the weekend. Wow, they go to Toronto. So literally Austin is on the road all week. Leaving to go to Louisville, then going to Toronto, and then going home. So it is a long week. And I think Austin might have to pick their place. You lose to LAG, then you're flying to Louisville. You're not in a great frame of mind, and you've got Toronto laying in wait. I like the 90-minute draw. And it might be because Austin will probably be a little bit more sluggish than you would think. I just don't know where the goals are going to come from if you were looking at those two. So that's what I'm thinking in those activities. So that's where we are. So number one is the Cyprus League on Tuesday. Then it is going to be Open Cup on Tuesday. That gets us into Wednesday. So Wednesday, we get to go and visit some old friends. And for this, we go to Guatemala in the Liga Nacional. And they have some midweek games that they've got to work on. It's our old friends Guastatoya and Antigua. Guastatoya, plus 129, draws a plus 210. Antigua's a plus 170. In the league right now, they have a match at 5. They got a match at 8 tomorrow. So if you find a way to get to your FOX or your other places to find those particular teams and locations, that's where they're going to be. Antigua right now is 4th in the table, top 8, and I think they do the playoff at that point. Our friends in Miklan have some work to do. They, at 19 matches, are at 25 points, but they're well behind in goal difference. They've lost 2 of 3. Guastatoya is 8th, but they are a home favorite at 25 points. Antigua has won 4 of 5 to get to 30 points to be in 4th. Guastatoya at 19 matches, plus 2 in goal difference, 5 points behind. They've hit each column once in their last 3, draw, win, loss. Guastatoya is at 25 points. Antigua is at 30. So Antigua's got the hot hand right now. And they are, like I said, they've won 3 in a row, 4 or 5. And they are at 5 points ahead of Guastatoya. 1 through 8 go into a playoff beyond that. So do you go with Antigua, who's the road dog, or Guastatoya, who's 5 points behind and has just kind of hiccuped lately, where Antigua's the hot team and Guastatoya is not? So I think I'm going to go with a hot team. I think that Antigua continues their hot form. So I've got the draw in Cyprus, I've got the draw in Louisville, and I've got Antigua in Guatemala. So then that means that on Friday, that means we go one place. Actually, we go to a couple places, but we're starting China at 7 o'clock in the morning in the Chinese Super League. The Chinese Super League that on Friday at 7 a.m. Qingdao Hainyu hosting Qingdao West Coast. And we got to learn about these folks. And so I think we had Qingdao West Coast on once before. But Qingdao Hainyu is a plus 125, draws a plus 250. Qingdao West Coast is a plus 187. Now remember, the league just started, but you also had an inordinate amount of folks start on points penalties to have to try and build their way out of negatives to start the season. And so right now, you still have 4 teams that are negative points because of the point totals that they were the point penalties that they were assessed coming into the year. You literally have, through 5 matches, 4 teams still in the negative. Qingdao Hainyu is one of those. They are 1-1-3, and they are at minus 3 points. They lost their first 3. Now they've won once, and they have drawn the other. So like I said, we're through match week 5. We're heading into match week 6. Qingdao Hainyu would have been at 4 points if everything had been normal. They'd be like in 7th, which is where Qingdao West Coast is now. Qingdao West Coast kind of had the wheels fall off at the start. They lost 3 of their first 4. And then they drew last time out. So you don't know which form you're going to get from Qingdao West Coast as they are on the road at Qingdao Hainyu, who seems to have found their bearings in their last 2 matches. Qingdao Hainyu beat Henan Songshan Langmen and drew Tianjin Jinmin Tiger, who is at the bottom of the table. They're the one that has the highest point penalty to start the season. And just to give you an idea, you had 9 teams of the 16, more than half of the league, started with a minus point penalty. So they started the season at minus points. Just to give you an idea. Beijing Guoyan and Shanghai Port, along with Wuhan 3 Towns and Zhejiang Professional, had a 5-point deduction to start. Henan Songshan Longmen, 6 points, along with Shandong Taishan. 7-point deduction with the Qingdao Hainyu. 10-point deduction, Shanghai Shenhua and Tianjin Jinmin Tiger. 9 of the 16 teams had point to deductions. And just to give you an idea, those that started with deductions, Shandong Taishan has won 3 of their first 5. They're at 3 points now. Zhejiang Professional started out well. They've lost their last 2. They're at 2 points. Shanghai Shenhua, unbeaten in their first 5, but they started with the worst points deduction to start the year at 10. Shanghai Port is either winning or losing. They've won twice, lost 3 times, and they're at 1 point. Henan Songshan Longmen, unbeaten in their first 3, have lost their last 2. Beijing Guan has lost 3 of their last 4. Wuhan 3 Towns has lost 2 in a row. Qingdao Hainyu started out with 3 losses, and now they've unbeaten in their last 2 and gotten 4 points. And Tianjin Jinmin Tiger, they lost 3 in a row. They drew their first, lost 3 in a row. Now they've drawn again. So that is where that is where we're at. So all of them folks, right now are fighting to get out of a negative in the Chinese Super League. But Qingdao Hainyu and Qingdao West Coast. Qingdao Hainyu has unbeaten in their last 2 after losing their first 3. Then it is Qingdao West Coast, losing 3 of their first 4, then they've drawn. Qingdao West Coast is on the road at Qingdao Hainyu, and I'm going to go with Qingdao Hainyu. Qingdao Hainyu. So I'm going with Qingdao Hainyu for the win on Friday morning at 7 o'clock. So let's find out more about these folks. And let's find out about this points deduction thing and the points deductions that happened and to the degrees that they did. So let's see. Chinese. Okay. Okay. So here's what happened. January 29th, from our friends at the BBC. 9 teams starting the upcoming Chinese Super League season on minus points after clubs were sanctioned following an investigation into match fixing, gambling, and corruption in the football industry. Shanghai Shenhua, last season's runners-up, and Shenzhen Tigers both got the 10-point deductions each. 4 punished sides have already been relegated to China League 1. I didn't know there was a China League 1. I knew there was a China. There's apparently a China League 2 and a Super League, but I did not know China League 1 actually existed. But I'm guessing that means that under normal circumstances, the Super League would be a 20-team league. But since you already you relegated 4 clubs to League 1, it's a 16-team league this season. The 13 teams have also been fined between 21 and 104,000 pounds, basically 200,000 to 1 million won. Investigation into football-related gambling and match manipulation. In September of 24, 43 officials and players were hit with lifetime bans. Former Everton midfielder Lee Tai, along with 73 other people, have also been banned from football for life in the country. He was jailed last year after admitting to fixing matches, accepting bribes, and offering bribes to get a top coaching job. Former coach of the Chinese men's national team sentenced to 20 years in jail for bribery. Shows how President Xi Jinping's anti-corruption crackdown has cut through sport, banking, and the military, according to Kelly Ng at the BBC. 3 former officials from the Chinese Football Association also handed jail sentences for bribery. More than a dozen coaches and players investigated. Lee was the national team's head coach from January 2020 to December of 21. Pleaded guilty in March to taking over $16 million in bribes. Court said that this happened from 2015, when he was an assistant coach at Hebei China Fortune, until 2021, when he quit as a national coach. In exchange for the bribes, Lee would select certain individuals for the national team and help football clubs win competitions. Featured in an anti-corruption documentary aired by CCTV earlier this year, where he apologized for his offenses. 92 appearances for China, played the 2002 World Cup, the country's only appearance in the finals. His former boss, CFA President Shen Yuhuan, sentenced to life in prison earlier this year for accepting bribes worth $11 million. Xi had in the past voiced his ambition to turn China into a major football power. 2011 spoke of his 3 wishes for Chinese football, qualifying for the World Cup, hosting the tournament, and to one day win the trophy. Latest anti-graft campaign has the earlier goes back to the earlier crackdown in 2010. Rowan Simons, who authored the book Bamboo Goalposts on his long-term efforts to develop grassroots football in China, told BBC Chinese earlier in the year, in many ways, this looks exactly the same as it was 10 years ago with a different set of characters. How's it different? There's much more money involved. So you had you had that with your Chinese Super League investment. So 9 of the 16 teams, really it was like 13 of the 20, but 9 of the 16 that are there now started on minus points. Match fixing is where we are. And so now you have folks that are sitting there and saying, bet on Wuhan 3 towns, Dalian Yingbo. Not really. Not so much. Not going to do it. So the Chinese Super League, the China Resources Beverage Chinese Football Super League, Relegation to League One and China League Two. You've got 2 domestic cups. 42 teams have competed in the league since its inception in 2004. Average attendance 25,755 back in the 2025 season. And so the current clubs, decent capacity stadia as we're staring at it. Qingdong Hainyu. All right, so Qingdong Hainyu, QDH NFC, literally that is the name of the club, and it's got some like Art Deco bull on the top of the crest. Play at the Qingdao Youth Football Stadium, 50,000. And Li Xiaoping is the head coach. You have Spanish managers in Kike Setien at Beijing Huan. Salva Sanchez is at Chongqing Tong Lianglong. South Korean manager So Jung-won is at Chengdu Rongcheng. Nam Ki-il is at Henan. Chong Kang-hee is at Shandong Taishan. Kevin Muscat, Australian professional soccer manager, represented the national team, 46 caps. Kevin Muscat is the head coach at Shanghai Port. Leonid Slutsky is the head coach, former head coach of CSKA Moscow. He's at Shanghai Shenhua. Christian Latanzio is at Shenzhen Ping City. Felipe Martins is at Wuhan Three Towns. And Yorna Anderson is at Yunnan Yukun. And Ross Aloisi is at Zhejiang Professional. So it is not just a truly Chinese managed league. So Qingdao Hainyu, 1990, 36 years ago. And then they were recommissioned in 93. And nicknames, Hainyu, the Sea Bull. So it is a bull. It is the Sea Bull, Hainyu. Founded as Shandong Economic and Trade Commission Football Club in 1990. First professional club in Qingdao and changed their name to Qingdao Manatee. Established themselves as a top-tier club, won the first major trophy in 2002. Retired footballers in the corporation, Shandong Economic Trade Commission, associated with some workers at the municipal sanatorium. Started to play in the league and went Qingdao Manatee. Qingdao Hainyu's logo in 95. This is actually pretty cool. And so here's the Qingdao Hainyu logo back from 95. Now this is pretty cool. And you kind of wish that maybe they would stick with this sometimes. And OG, it's just from a lot of years. I love you for it, rattling off the Chinese club pronunciations like a pro. But that is Qingdong Hainyu back in 95. I actually like that logo. It's a very, very 90s look, but I like that. Their current logo is a little more Art Deco-y. That is very 90s. You're kind of afraid that the Sea Bull is going to puncture the soccer ball. I actually like that. Qingdao Hainyu's logo back in 95. I actually like that. And so you go from that logo to Zhongnun Football Club. So Qingdao Manatee, Chinese name for manatee, literally Hainyu, sea bull. So it's manatees. Okay. So instead of it being a manatee like the things that we're used to seeing, it literally is like a bull in the sea. It is not like the manatee, like with the sea cow. That's the difference. We here in the U.S. call manatees sea cows. In China, they call them sea bulls. And that's also the nickname for the foghorn in Tuandao Lighthouse because of the sound that it makes. So, see, this is where we have a bit of a disagreement. Milan Ristic is the head coach now, by the way. But Hainyu is a sea bull, but it was past referred to as a manatee, which to us is a sea cow, which doesn't have the horns that we saw with the sea bull. Yeah, see, there's some wiggle room in here, and definitely a difference in terms. So Yeah, I like that I like the C Bowl. I like that C Bowl. And then changed to Jonun FC, the logo in 2008. Didn't last a whole long time. They were Qingdao Jonun, second to last in League One, relegated. And then Qingdao Jonun started the Super League season, 7 points deducted. Violation of sports ethics, loss of sportsmanship, engaging in improper transactions to seek illegitimate benefits. So, current squad, mainly Chinese. Nemanja Andelikovic from Serbia in the defense. Moroccan Malcolm Ejuma in the midfield. Yaya Boa. Wow. Yaya Boa. Remember the lifetime ban with he and Derek Jones? So that's where he is. He's on the current roster of Qingdao Hainyu. Can't play. Lifetime ban in Major League Soccer back in March. In April, we see him playing for Qingdao Hainyu in the Chinese Super League. Gotcha. Milan Ristic is their current head coach. Serbian professional footballer. So, Qingdao Hainyu and Qingdao West Coast. So, they play at West Coast University. They got a dragon in there. Since 2007. 18 years ago, they play at Qingdao West Coast University City Sports Center. Capacity of 20,000. Founded in 2007 by Qingdao Canteen Commercial Concrete as a company football team for their employees. Local amateur and futsal tournaments. Then they joined the Chinese Football League Pyramid, second tier of the Qingdao League, or seventh tier overall. Changed their league to Qingdao Canteen in 2017. Won the City League. Changed their name in 2019 to Qingdao Zhongshuang Hengtai. Third attempt at the highest level of amateur. Then finished 8th in 2020. Promoted to League 2. Changed their name to Qingdao Youth Island. And then in 2023, they became Qingdao West Coast FC. They have a Bosnia-Herzegovinian defender, Samir Mimicevic, Abdulaziz Yakubu from Ghana, Nelson Deleuze from Angola. Do we know Nelson Deleuze from anywhere? Davidson from Brazil. Hong Kong's Barack Braunstein. Resende from Brazil. And then the rest of the roster is Chinese. And current head coach is Jing Ji. Former player, football manager, played for Guangzhou FC before becoming their captain, and now he's managing Qingdao West Coast. So literally, you are dealing with a club that started from a commercial concrete company in Qingdao West Coast, or the Sea Bulls of Qingdao Hainyu. So do we like Sea Bulls or do we like concrete? I'm still going with Qingdao Hainyu because of the Sea Bull bit, even though they're not the manatees. They're not the manatees that we know anyway. Sixth match. Fifth match. It is Uzbekistan. And it is Serkan Termez and Kizilkum. And we've had Kizilkum on the show before. So I know of this Kizilkum, and I know that that we have had them on because you can't remember. You can't forget a name like Kizilkum. Uzbek Super League, 11:15 Friday morning. They're going to start round 8. Serkan Termez and Kizilkum. Kizilkum right now 2-0-5. Had a 4-game losing streak snapped last time with a win. So they are 14th in the table right now. And Kizilkum and Serkan Termez, who is in 10th, they're only at 8 points at 2-2-3. Unbeaten in their last 4, by the way. So Serkan Termez unbeaten in their last 4. Kizilkum had a 4-match losing streak snapped last time out. Kizilkum -8 in goal difference. They've won twice in their first 7. Serkan Termez has only won 2 in their first 7, but they're unbeaten in their last 4. head-to-head in this one, since we don't have juice boxes yet, the head-to-head in this one is – I wish you'd give me the numbers. Oh, okay. So, and this is pretty down the middle too. 3 wins for Serkan Termez, 3 draws, and 4 wins for Kizilkum. So we're going to go plus 100s across the board on this because we don't have odds because it's too far away and they don't want to give them to us. So I am going to go with Serkan Termez. I'm going to go with Serkan Termez in this one over Kizilkum. So keep an eye on this one once again. 11:15 in the morning on Friday from the Uzbek Super League. Serkan Termez hosting Kizilkum. And Serkan Termez, by the way, I'm liking that logo. Established since 1968 in Termez City. So it's FC Serkan. Let's find out about FC Serkan while we're here. FC Serkan. Had like a unicorn looking thing. So let's see. 10th to 14th last season. Fevzi Davlatov is their manager. Founded in 1968. So domestic history. Wow, this is a short bio. We do know that Bakhtiar Fazilov is the club owner. And the away colors, nice dress blues. Players, all Uzbek except for one Russian, Jamaldin Kozhanyazov, a Russian defender. They've had notable players in the past, and most of them Russian or Brazilian. Douglas Nascimento de Trujillo, Lucas Oliveira de Cunha, and a couple of Serbs along the way as well in Darko Stanijevic and Vladimir Bubanya. But as of right now, not a whole lot of history. We do know the owner, Bakhtiar Fazilov, works on the modernization of the stadium in Termez are in full swing. It seats 10,600. Serkan Arena. And when was this? So when was this works on the modernization? Actually, it looks pretty cool when they modernized it out. Back in 2023 in Tashkent. Serkan Arena undergoing a general reconstruction, meeting the licensing standards of the Association of Football Clubs. $1.5 million. And he has been in charge. Mr. Fazilov has been in charge since 2023. So don't know a whole lot about their history other than their 1968 was their first year. And so the Markazi Stadium Karshi is where they play. So Serkan Termez. I was going to actually FC Termez. I was going to show you the unicorn. So FC Termez. FC Serkan. So Termez. Okay, sorry. All right, so that's kind of a small photo. But we'll go ahead and I will show you the photo that is attached. Yeah, the guy banned from MLS for betting is now playing in a league where more than half the clubs started the points with corruption. Yes, absolutely true. Yes, OG, that is absolutely true. Yes, Yaya Boa, banned in MLS for betting, playing in a league where more than half of the clubs started with points deductions for corruption, including match fixing. You are absolutely correct. So, okay, so here is a very small FC Serkan logo. Let's see, that's very small. That is a very small logo. Let me see if I can expand it a little here. There we go. That's 300%. I mean, it's kind of a cool logo. It's nice looking Pegasus kind of deal. So, if you dig Pegasus, then FC Serkan is for you. Then FC Serkan is playing our friends from yeah, they're playing our friends from Kizilkum. And PFK Kizilkum has Akmal Rustamov as their head coach. Like I said, they lost 4 in a row until this one and Kizilkum. So Kizilkum, PFK Kizilkum. I have to remember that. So PFK, and I'm definitely going to misspell Kizilkum. Kizilkum. Am I anywhere close? Pakhtar Tashkent. Yeah, so okay. PFK Kizzlecoombe. Oh, Kilzilcoombe. That's where I went wrong. Okay. Kizzlecoombe. Okay, so I'm not too far off. Now, do we have? We are the Kizzle. Oh, hey, look on their website. This is their website, and this is their logo. And basically, their thought pattern was this: we are the Kizzlecoombe. We are the Kizzlecoombe. That is who they are. So I'm gonna bring in their website here and show you that they are the Kizzlecoombe. They are, yes. Now we are. Now we are in Picks of the Week, Kefsey. But this week we're learning about our Uzbek neighbors. We are learning about our Uzbek neighbors. So it's just so we all can become better appreciative for logos and sea bowls and things like that. So, all right. So here is the We Are the Kizzlecoombe website. Yeah. See, there's the website for We Are Kizzlecoombe. That is like their nickname. We Are the Kizzlecoombe, literally. PFC Kizzlecoombe. We Are the Kizzlecoombe. I have no earthly idea what a Kizzlecoombe is. Here's their stadium. Uzbek Football Federation, the UFF up top. So there's the home. Their goal devotes its power to develop football atmosphere. And you see how old this website is? January 2018. I imagine that they still are the Kizzlecoombe, but the history of the club will go by their own words. Apparently, it has no history. So a 2018 website attached to the FC Kizzlecoombe where they say they are the Kizzlecoombe, in fact, has no information on them. No information on them whatsoever. And OG did say she wanted to include something Uzbek adjacent every week until the World Cup. And so this is kind of what we're doing. We're being Uzbek adjacent. We're being good neighbors. So since PFK Kizzlecoombe has decided to not update their website from 2018, I'm also definitely picking Serkan Termez because of the Pegasus logo that they have. So there you go. Yeah, a website from 2018. The Kizzlecoombe kind of need to work on that. Okay, matchup 6. It is Union Berlin and Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, Saturday morning at 9:30. You can probably catch this on the plus. Union Berlin is a plus 120, draws a plus 250. Wolfsburg is a plus 220. I'm going Union Berlin because I want Marietta to smash some serious butt while she's the caretaker manager over there. So, matchup number 6, Bundesliga, Union Berlin and Wolfsburg. And I'm going Union Berlin. Matchup 7, also on Saturday morning, starts 9 hours, 30 minutes earlier. The Czech League. I'll try and get us out of here by 10 o'clock or shortly thereafter. So, Czech League, which their Premier League is the Chance League, the Chance Liga. Zlin and Teplice. These are two big hockey programs. That much I do know. So, Zlin and Teplice, 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday in the Czech League. So, your standings currently, let's see if they do the dreaded split or not. They do not, but they have 3 separate groups, and I don't know what that means. Teplice is at 29 points, and they drew 4 in a row before losing last time out. They're in 13th place at 29 points. And there are 2 matches to go, it looks like, in the season before they split off into 3 groups. Looks like a championship group, a middle-age group, and a group where you're just battling for 11 through 16. Teplice right now, and this is fierce. This is pretty big because to get into that middle group, you have 4 teams separated by 4 points. Zlin and Teplice are 2 of them. Zlin has lost 4 in a row. Worst time to do that. Teplice had 4 draws in a row before losing last time out. Still separated by 2 points. Zlin loses 4 in a row. They are at home hosting Teplice Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. And Zlin is a slight favorite at a plus 165. I don't see it. I don't know if Teplice can score. They're averaging about a goal a match. Zlin is averaging a little more than that. Zlin is also about 1.4 in goals against. Teplice is better by about a third. 34 goals given up in 28 games. So I'm going to go draw here. I don't think anything's resolved, and I think everybody goes away mad. And so then that means our final match is at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Scottish Championship, because they're winding down before they get into the dreaded split, I imagine. And so at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, it is Arbroath and Wraith in the Scottish Championship. Arbroath is a plus 154, draws a plus 190. Wraith is a plus 163. So in the standings in this one, let's see if we have the dreaded split or not. And it's kind of splitish, but it's not really. It looks like two teams is just more promotion and relegation than anything else. So Arbroath is third, and they would be in the promotion playoff right now with Dunfermline getting home field advantage. And Dunfermline has a match in hand, however. But Arbroath is in third at 47 points, and they've lost 3 in a row. Wraith, on the other hand, has won 3 of 4 to get to 39 points, but they are. I'd love to know where the eligibility is to try and how many matches they have left in the season. My guess is 4, because 9 teams times 4 is 36. So Wraith with a handful of matches, they could get to Dunfermline to be in the 3-4, but I think they've run out of time. Arbroath has scored more goals. They've lost 3 in a row, but they're at home hosting Wraith in the championship Saturday morning. I don't know if this is a get-right game or not for Arbroath. I don't think so, so I'll go draw here too, because Wraith's on the road. They've won 3 of 4, but they're also 8 points behind Arbroath heading into this weekend. So I'll go draw. So to recap, Cyprus League, AEK Larnaca and Omonia. I'm going draw. 1 versus 2. You've got Open Cup Tuesday. It is Lou City and Austin. Austin's a slight favorite. I'm going draw. Wednesday evening, Guatemala, Guastatoya, and Antigua. Guastatoya is favored, but I'm going Antigua on the road because of recent form and Guastatoya being toward the bottom of the table. Friday morning early, Chinese Super League, we're going for the Sea Bulls. Qingdao Hainyu. Then the Uzbek Super League, I'm going for Serkan Termez over Kizilkum because Kizilkum has not updated their website since 2018. Match 6. Well, technically, they're all kind of together in an hour separation. It is Bundesliga, Union Berlin and Wolfsburg. FC Union Berlin is favored. I'm taking Union Berlin. Czech Liga, it is Zlin and Teplice, both toward the bottom of the table. Teplice has some work to do, but they're going on the road as a slight dog. I'm going draw. And then the Scottish Championship, as they sort out their 3 groups, the 2 that are automatically promoted, the 1 fighting for the playoff, and everybody else. Wraith is in the everywhere else. They've got a handful of matches to try to get into the promotion playoff. I don't think they get there. They draw with Arbroath. Now, tiebreaker. And then I'll get us out of here quick because tomorrow's going to be a long day. History of club. There is none. You might be the Kizilkum, but you have no history. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday, Open Cup. You have Naples and Orlando City, Chattanooga FC, Atlanta United, Richmond Columbus, Red Bulls and Riverhounds, Charlotte Independence, DC and One Knox, St. Louis City and FC Tulsa, Houston and El Paso, San Jose and Phoenix Rising. Total number of goals in Wednesday's Open Cup. Wednesday's Open Cup. How many goals? So, okay. All right. I'm doing math in my head, and I know that's not doing really well. So there, uh, 35 will be my pick. Goals on Wednesday in the Open Cup. Naples, Orlando City, Chattanooga, Atlanta FC, Richmond Crew, Red Bulls Riverhounds, Charlotte FC, Charlotte Independence, DC United 1 Knox, St. Louis City and FC Tulsa, Dynamo in El Paso, San Jose and Phoenix. How many goals? I've got 35. So that's your assignment. You have until noon Tuesday to figure out what you want to do in the Cypress League to get everything rolling. Back at it again in the morning at 9:05 Eastern. We'll go over the rest of the weekend that happened in Major League Soccer, what happened in all the leagues that we know, all the news we got going on, and all the things. So it's you and me tomorrow, 9:05. So see you in about 11 hours, and I'll post the 8 matches and the tiebreaker to the Discord. So we went over everything in England. We went over everything around the planet that we know. We found out about Sea Bowls. We found out that Uzbek teams in the Super League have an updated website. So we go against them in Picks of the Week. OG, good to see you. Kevsey, good to see you. D. Graham, glad you were here on the board. And also, let's see, 4-card, glad you were here. Golden Flare 2-6, enjoy the Champions League. I know you're a big Athlete and can't wait. Neither can we. So Champions League tomorrow. Open Cup tomorrow night. All the things going on here in the SDH universe. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do on Soccer Over There. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. Since it is the end of the show, that means one thing. We go here. See you tomorrow morning.